WWE, the global powerhouse of sports entertainment, is no longer the same company it used to be. We're not just talking about Triple H taking over creative or Vince McMahon stepping away. No, we're talking about the bigger shift, the corporate merger that created TKO Holdings, the parent company combining WWE with UFC under Endeavor. And ever since this deal went down, fans have been buzzing, debating, fighting online, and even chanting their frustrations live at events. The question is simple but heavy. Is TKO actually ruining WWE forever? Before we get into this explosive breakdown, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let us know your take in the comments. Are you on the side of business growth and mainstream expansion, or do you think TKO is gutting the soul of wrestling? Here's the reality. WWE is no longer just a wrestling company. Under TKO, it's now treated as a corporate content machine. The company's future isn't being decided by bookers, writers, or even Triple H alone. It's being decided by executives in boardrooms who are looking at quarterly reports, stock projections, and Wall Street presentations. That's where the first problem starts. Wrestling at its heart has always been about emotion. It's about moments. It's about fans feeling connected to a story, to a character, to the spectacle of it all. But when corporate suits treat it purely as content, suddenly decisions aren't about what excites the crowd. They're about what sells to advertisers, what looks good in a shareholder call, or what drives short-term media rights. And that's exactly why fans feel like something has shifted since TKO took over. Think about it. We've seen shows where sponsorships take center stage, where ring gear has ads slapped across it, where even matches feel secondary to whatever brand is being pushed. Prime Hydration, Snickers, cricket betting sites, you name it. WWE feels more like a platform for advertising integration than a wrestling show at times. Now, there's nothing wrong with sponsorships in moderation. They bring in revenue, they keep the company financially stable. But when they interrupt the product, when the crowd is pulled out of the moment because the announcers are shilling a sponsor in the middle of a heated angle, fans notice. Social media lights up, people post clips saying, man, this doesn't even feel like wrestling anymore. But here's the twist. TKO isn't just about flooding the product with ads. It's about a UFC-style mindset. Fighters in UFC are interchangeable pieces. Whoever wins becomes the draw. But wrestling doesn't work that way. Fans don't fall in love with just the outcome of a fight. They fall in love with the journey, with characters like The Rock, Stone Cold, John Cena, and Roman Reigns, who became cultural icons. And here's the danger. Under TKO, wrestlers are being treated more like assets than stars. If one gets injured, replace them. If one wants to negotiate harder, move on. That might work in MMA, but in wrestling, it destroys long-term storytelling. Fans can't emotionally invest if stars aren't given the time and care to grow into legends. And this is where speculation really kicks in. Imagine Triple H builds Cody Rhodes to be the face of the next era, completing his story and becoming the guy. But what if TKO executives decide they want a crossover star like Conor McGregor to headline instead? What if business metrics say Logan Paul is a safer bet than someone who has worked years to earn fan loyalty? That's the nightmare scenario. Not because Logan Paul isn't talented, but because it tells fans their voices don't matter. It tells them the business is about short-term buzz, not lasting legacy. But let's be fair here. It's not all negative. Some would argue TKO could take WWE to new heights. Bigger mainstream partnerships, more global reach, crossover appeal that puts wrestling into conversations with sports, entertainment, and Hollywood. On paper, that sounds amazing. More exposure for the roster, bigger paydays, and WWE becoming a juggernaut entertainment brand. And you can't deny, Endeavor knows how to market. UFC exploded globally under their leadership. Could they do the same for WWE? Possibly, but here's the catch. UFC is a legitimate sport. Fans watch because of the unpredictability and authenticity of the fights. WWE is scripted. If you try to run it with the same corporate sports model, you strip away the magic that makes pro wrestling unique. That's the real risk. Crowd reactions don't lie. At recent shows, you can hear the difference. Fans pop for genuine moments, like when Sami Zayn finally got his big push, or when LA Knight's "yeah" chants echo through arenas. Those reactions are organic, built from connection, but when the product feels overproduced, when legends are trotted out for the 10th time just to spike ratings, fans boo, they roll their eyes, they take to Twitter to vent. One of the loudest criticisms after WrestleMania 40 was that The Rock overshadowed Cody's story. That's not coincidence. That's corporate strategy clashing with fan investment. And think about the layoffs. When TKO merged, hundreds of WWE employees were let go, not because they weren't talented, but because corporate synergy demanded it. Imagine being part of the team that built WWE's network infrastructure, only to be cut because a spreadsheet said it saves a few million. That might look good in an investor report, but to fans, it feels like the company is bleeding out the people who made it thrive behind the scenes. Every time that happens, the product risks losing its polish, its creativity, its identity. Now let's get into the symbolic side of all this. WWE has always always been larger than life. It's been the land where ordinary people became superheroes, where stadiums roared for once-in-a-lifetime showdowns. But under TKO, that mythos is cracking. The image of WWE as a wrestling kingdom is being replaced by the image of WWE as a corporate asset. The company is now a line on a stock ticker. That's a dangerous shift, because when fans stop seeing it as their world and start seeing it as just another media product, the magic fades. But that's not the only thing you need to know. The homogenization of WWE and UFC could blur the lines in ways that harm both brands. Imagine forced crossovers where UFC fighters randomly appear in storylines. Imagine announcers constantly comparing WWE superstars to MMA fighters as if they need legitimacy. That undermines wrestling, because wrestling doesn't need to be MMA. It needs to be wrestling. It thrives on spectacle, drama, and characters. If TKO executives don't understand that, they risk stripping WWE of what makes it special. Fans online are already sounding alarms. Reddit threads, Twitter debates, YouTube comment sections, they're full of frustration. Some fans are even saying this feels like WCW all over again, where corporate decisions ruined what was once magical. Others argue it's worse, because at least WCW was still run by wrestling people, while WWE now has non-wrestling suits making the big calls. That divide is real, and if WWE doesn't address it, they could see loyalty erode in ways they never imagined. Let's shift gears into the dramatic side, the documentary tone. Picture the story of WWE told like a myth, a company born from the dreams of Vince McMahon Sr., transformed by Vince Jr. into a global empire. Icons rose, moments were created, legends etched their names in history. Madison Square Garden, the Silverdome, the Sky Dome, AT&T Stadium, all became cathedrals of spectacle. And then came the merger, a new overlord, TKO, a symbol of change, of money, of corporate power. The kingdom was no longer ruled by wrestling visionaries. It was ruled by investors, by analysts, by voices who never felt the roar of the crowd. And in that shift, something sacred began to wither. The rise was mythic, the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, the PG Era, all chapters of a story that captured generations. But now, the fall feels like it's beginning, not in ratings collapse overnight, but in the slow decay of passion. The dominance is still there. WWE sells out stadiums, breaks records, makes billions, but dominance without heart is hollow. A legacy built on moments risks turning into a legacy built on stock value. And that's the tragedy. Close your eyes and picture it. A packed arena, fans chanting, lights flashing. And yet, behind the curtain, decisions are made by men who never stepped into the ring, who never felt the mat under their boots. That's the haunting reality. WWE's soul is being rewritten. Its future is being dictated not by the roar of the people, but by the cold, sterile language of business reports. Wrestling fans' resentment toward TKO Group Holdings stems from years of built-up frustration with how WWE has been managed and the belief that the merger with Endeavor only amplified the problems. The merger was presented as a revolutionary move, bringing together two global sports entertainment giants in WWE and UFC, but fans largely saw through the corporate branding. Instead of seeing an opportunity for wrestling to evolve, they saw warning signs of an even stronger focus on monetization at the expense of creativity, passion, and the authenticity that has historically kept wrestling alive. The foundation of the issue is that wrestling is a storytelling-driven product, one that thrives on long-term creative vision, emotional investment in characters, and the sense that fans are being rewarded for their loyalty. Under TKO, fans perceive that every decision is about quarterly profits and shareholder optics rather than what will actually make wrestling thrive for the audience. And so, we arrive at the final thought. How will history remember this era? Will it be the moment WWE expanded beyond imagination, reaching a new global high? Or will it be remembered as the time the company lost its soul, becoming just another product, another franchise, another corporate brand in a sea of content? That's the question hanging in the air, and the answer will be written not by the executives, but by the fans. Because if the fans walk away, if the fans stop believing, no amount of corporate power can bring the magic back. So here's where I turn it to you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think TKO is the future WWE needs, or do you believe they're slowly destroying everything that made wrestling special? Smash that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe for more breakdowns, and remember, this channel is built for the fans, by the fans. Together, we keep the conversation alive, and as the documentary voice fades, one haunting line lingers. Once WWE was a kingdom of dreams, now it risks becoming a factory of content. The crowd still chants, the lights still shine, but the question remains, when the soul is gone, what is left to cheer for?